So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. This is my kitten reveal. I should probably clean his eyeball off before I reveal him. Come here, bud. Get your sleep out of your eye. Get your sleep out of your eye. Oh, there we go. What's up, internet people? How's it going? I'm just checking in because I'm about to take off on a trip. The Being in Time course came to, I was going to say completion. No, not completion. It came to its halfway point, and now we're taking a break, which was all part of the original plan because it's so intensive to get through the first part that, like, we wanted to take like a month break so people could go do summer things before coming back and getting into Division 2. So that was a lot of fun. What's up, Austin? How's it going, man? Good to see somebody is awake at this hour. I know I've not done any live streams in like months because, well, the last couple of times I tried, the internet wasn't working. But I figured that the phone might be a good way to do a stream. And it seems like it probably is. Like, it's not, you'll have to let me know. This is sort of an experiment or whatever, but so I do have to know, like, if you can make out what I'm saying and everything like that, if it's coming through well, if it's not buffering, that's good to know. So do let me know that. But this is kind of like a Meet the Kitty and AMA. Ask me anything. And I'll just hang out for a little bit. I was supposed to be getting work done on my computer here, and it's not happening because my heart is like a puddle on the floor because it melted a little while ago because he's been like this for a couple hours. I woke up at 3:55 this morning because I needed to do a video call with somebody who's on the East Coast who wanted to do it early. So it was like, by the time we were in the call, it was like 7:30 his time. It's like 4:30 my time. And the main thing I'm supposed to be doing right now is on the computer. I'm supposed to be fixing one little technical thing that's in the way before the Theory Underground app will be available on the Apple Store. But it's always some little thing, though. There's always some new thing that comes along and makes it so that I have to usually spend a couple hours figuring out whatever the technical bullshit is that's stopping the app from going through. But the app is available on Android now. It's on the Android store. So the Google Play Store, Theory Underground app is now there. I haven't actually announced that. I probably should. Oh my god. I forgot about that. Yeah, I actually need to do here's the app, here's how it works and everything. But let's just say that marketing is not exactly my strong point. Thanks, Chroma. Thanks, Weird Solowski. People are complimenting my kitty. Precious, precious little guy. You want to know the story about this kitty? So, it's a really strange series of events. I'm visiting my parents' farm. They have a dog, a couple of cats, or at least they had a couple of cats. And then they just as far as like the farm's operations goes, it's like berries, salad, chickens. Like that's the things that they do. It's all like very sustainable, blah blah blah. Super organic or whatever. Like they're making superfoods and building soil and doing all the good stuff, polyface farming, market farming, whatever. Small farm in North Idaho, out in the sticks. And so it's very important to them to have a dog and a cat. Like for a lot of people, it's just a pet. It's not just a pet though. In this world, you actually need dogs to keep away predators, and you need a cat to keep away rodents, right? And so, um, look, one of the cats here was like a stray that my mom took in, and then the other cat who just passed away last week was Princess, and she'd been here for like 12 to 14 years. And on a farm, that's a long time because if cats stray off of the farm and go exploring, like they don't last long. Coyotes and all kinds of bigger predators will go after them. Not to mention, there's probably just some assholes who shoot them because there's a lot of people who just hate cats. That's just a thing about America. It might be a thing about the world. It might just be a lot of humans in general don't like individuals, and cats are too individualistic for most people. And, I get it. They've been brainwashed to believe that the only kind of love that is real is the kind of love that a dog gives, which is unconditional. But, and it doesn't really know boundaries. But no, my mom, loved that cat, which is crazy to me because when I was growing up, she didn't care about cats at all. And so I always kind of felt like I helped her understand cats or something. And at first, she just liked them for mousing, but she really started to care about that cat. And so when it finally passed away, like my mom was actually sad about it and told my dad to get a kitty to replace it. And so my dad went, got this kitten, not this kitten, some other kitten, which which then ran away before he even brought it home. So he bought it and then it like bolted from him and like ran away. And then he spent like a lot of time trying to find it and couldn't find it. So that's the first weird part of the story that gets us to what's actually in my arms here. If that hadn't happened, this kitty wouldn't have happened, right? Or at least it wouldn't be in my life. And so a couple days later, I come home because I've been staying at my parents, and this kitten is here, and it's just this little fluff ball. This was like 2 weeks ago, and he was really shy at first, but then really quickly he took to kind of pouncing around, pouncing on things, playing and stuff. And so we've all just been having a great time with him. Like my nieces and nephews were visiting, and they were going crazy for him. I had a little wedding shower for some of the people who won't be able to make it to my wedding, and they all brought their kids and stuff. And so this kitty's been through a lot already in terms of meeting dogs, meeting children, and like little kids like will hold a cat in like the most inappropriate ways, but cats like understand that it's a child and so they don't scratch them, which is really awesome. Like I've never seen a cat resist being held by its neck or something by a child, which is like an amazing feat of patience. You have to wonder if they evolved that way to like just know better than to fuck with human children. Like cats that fuck with human children, like they don't survive. Um, but no, this guy's been through a lot in terms of sort of like social diversity, which I just love. And so well, here's the thing though. The main reason that he's my cat now is that he was thought to be a girl. So when they got him, they thought, oh, it's a little female cat. But then my mom was like looking at him, probably upside down or whatever, and she's like, it's a boy. And so she doesn't want a male cat, it turns out. And I was like, what difference does it make? And she goes, well, the male cats, they pee everywhere and they don't mouse as well. They're lazy. And she's like, she wants to have cats that are good mousers to keep the rodents off the farm. And it's like, okay, fair enough, but I thought if you spay or neuter, well, yeah, neuter a male cat soon enough, then it's gonna be fine. Apparently not, though. Apparently, a cat. I don't know. Maybe my mom's just she's got prejudices against cats. They're either founded or they're not. I don't know. That's kind of besides the point. She didn't want to have the kitty anymore. And so she's like, well, do you want it as a wedding present? And I was like, no, because it's already bonded with Ginger. Ginger's the dog here that is just so sweet and has really taken this kitty under its figurative arm. But mom said she doesn't care. She's not going to keep him. And Anne and I have been bonding with this cat, and more so. Anne's bonded with this kitty way more than I have in the last 2 weeks because I was kind of like reserving myself. Like I can't bond too much with the kitten. It'll break my heart, you know? And so, like after Rascal died 5 years ago, got hit by a car during the during that conference, responding to Jordan Peterson in lieu of a debate. During that, my cat got hit by a car because he got out of the place that he was in. He was beside a busy street. He wasn't supposed to get out in the first place. So it's been like 5 years of kind of mourning that and and not really wanting to be overly attached to a kitten or whatever. And so I'd been kind of reserving myself, but still playing with him and stuff. It was Anne who really took to him because she's never been around a kitten before. And everyone's seen pictures of kittens. If you're watching this, you can see a video of a sleeping kitten, but it doesn't mean anything. I mean, the true experience is one that not a lot of people get to have. And some people who get to have the experience, they don't really get to enjoy it because they're allergic. But no, a kitten at this age, or like when he was even smaller, there's like it invokes in you when you actually hold it, like something actually kicks into gear. It can only be described as a feeling of nurture or something like that, like I don't know, like I think that we feel this way about most baby things, right? Like you hold a baby, anything almost, you're going to feel that way, especially at least with mammals, right? We're all speciesist, and I think we all tend to prefer mammals, unless we're like fucked up and then we like snakes or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. So a kitty though, like it teaches you play in a way that I just don't know that other animals teach. Like playing with puppies is amazing. It's like one of the best experiences in the entire world. But there's just something different about a kitten, and I can't really put my finger on it, but Anne's been experiencing that over the last couple weeks, and it just really makes my day. There's nothing more precious in the world. And yeah, so when we found out that we were going to have this kitty, I had gone for like I realized I didn't have to be reserved anymore, and now I'm just like been bonding with him so hard for the last like couple days. He's so precious, and when I say I bond with him hard, I just mean I started like treating him like my own cat. And the thing that I do with a cat, well, it's a whole dynamic that involves a lot of different moving pieces, and I can't get into it all right now. But he's already like choosing to sleep with us. He's already like climbed up on my shoulders. He did it like 4 times this morning. Uh, he rode around on my shoulders for a while, purring, sleeping. But like one of the things I like to do with a kitten is like take it for new experiences as often as possible so that kind of every time it goes to sleep, it's processing those experiences and then wakes up more mature or whatever. And so this guy has already been on a four-wheeler. I took him on like a 15-minute four-wheeler drive yesterday with Anne when we went to visit a friend. And of course, he was pretty freaked out at first, but I just kind of petted his forehead and he chilled. And he rode in like this little, like crocheted hammock bag that Anne just made. She didn't make it for this purpose, but it's perfect for that purpose. And so, I do stuff like that with him. I take him to meet other cats, to meet other dogs, for car rides, just like to keep him out of his comfort zone. Because people who stay in their comfort zone, or cats who stay in their comfort zone, they become little anxious wrecks that are a lot like the people on Twitter right now. There we go. I just quilted this whole thing by talking about that. Let's see. Live chat. What's going on in live chat? Having kids makes you much meaner and nicer all at once. Yeah, I imagine it does. But why do you think that that's true? Hold on, let's see. So Austin asked, how old is it? He is something like 8 or 9 weeks. Could be 10 by now. I'm not really sure. He'll be on tour with me. I'm really stoked. I'm so stoked about it. Look at how he's stretched out. He's doing the Superman. I sleep like that sometimes. So what else? What should I talk about? One thing I want to talk about is I think everyone should read Norman Finkelstein's book, I'll Burn That Bridge When I Get to It. The forthcoming volume of Underground Theory has um, an excerpt from that book included in it, and it's a fire excerpt. But the book itself is so good. You just gotta read it. Um, it's for all these fucking idiots who are like, cancel culture is not real, or cancel culture is just people not liking when other people say things or whatever. He goes into like the history of deplatforming, talks about all of his leftist heroes who were ritually hazed and deplatformed. He talks about McCarthyism. But then he does like this deep dive into his critique of identity politics, and it's the best one. I've read a lot of these critiques, and it's his is the best by far, way better than anything else I've read on the topic. And then he systematically goes through like leading idpol public personalities, and just chapter after chapter shows how much of a dead end sort of reactionary stunt they are. Fucking marketing ploy. He does Kimberly Crenshaw, Robin DiAngelo, Kimmermex Kendi, Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Obama cult of personality. And each of these chapters, he's really using W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass primarily as his sort of counterpoints, but he also uses MLK and Malcolm X, as well as some of his other like lefty heroes or whatever from back in the day. And so It's a great book. The last half of the book is about academic freedom, but the first half of the book is about all this other stuff. So it's something I want everyone to read, and more importantly, I want people to like tell me what they want me to ask him about it, because basically he's interested in doing an interview on the topic, but he's also feels like he's already talked about it on so many podcasts and shit. He's not really sure what would be new, and he's tired of like repeating himself. So it's like, I want to do an interview with him with a bunch of questions he's never even thought about when it comes to that text. And so if you want to see me in an interview with Norman Finkelstein, you need to read the book and get me some good questions. And I'll also obviously be rereading it with an eye towards what I think are probably like the more important kinds of questions that most people don't even think of. Um, no, Chroma, I'm not. I'm not. Like I've read when it comes to post-colonial theory, um, like I've read some Gayatri Spivak, Fanon, Baba, but I also really like Vivek Chibber's critique of all that, right? Because he comes from like this class position and shows how reactionary um, Gayatri Spivak and Homi K. Baba really are. Um, I don't know if that's fair, because obviously I'm not like immersed in the field, but it seems about right. It seems like it'd pull with fancy words, but no, I don't know who Utsa Patnaik and Prabhat Patnaik. I don't know who they are. So you said on the kid question, no more bullshit and way more compassion. Yeah, I think that people who are childless and who don't have any goals of having children are the least compassionate and most narcissistic people on the planet. And they might not all be narcissistic, but there's like they're either narcissistic or borderline. Like there's a spectrum here. And I know that's a hot take, but there's a hot take of the day. People who are out of touch with natality are usually calloused assholes. And if they do have compassion, it's like this pseudo universalist compassion, usually reserved for some abstract group, not for actual people. So Utsa Patnaik is in post-colonial theory. It's about colonial transfers and all that. Shit, Chroma. Hey, I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I don't know about any of that. But what do you want to tell me about it? This is your opportunity to kind of sell, if not me, then at least the people who I'll read it to on it. So like, what does that mean to you? You want to talk to me about colonial transfers and all that? Like, Chroma says, no prob, just curious. Yeah, well, now I'm curious. So just fill me in on the details when you get a chance. Oh my god, this cat makes it impossible to do anything because he's like laying on my hand. Buddy, you gotta go on my shoulder. He's so tired. He's so tired. All right, now I've got my free hands. The book sounds base. Gonna read it next month, says Austin. The book. Let's talk about that for a quick second. Yeah, Underground Theory is coming out September 1st, and it's got some fire essays. Fire. For me, it's just kind of like, Theory Underground does stuff with mostly working class autodidacts who have no future in academia, but who want to learn how to think for themselves and who are tired of just kind of, parasocially or via proxy reading, podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff, and instead want to do it for themselves. And so getting a couple big names on it was kind of just a way of like showing like, yeah, all these nobodies can actually get published alongside some somebodies through Theory Underground, because these somebodies see what Theory Underground is doing is inherently valuable, and that's fucking based. But of course, people are all like mad because Zizek's in it and they think he's transphobic. And so, but I would say they think he's transphobic. I really mean that. And of course they think the same thing about Power, who's like, as opposed to Zizek, Power is like actively against the trans activism as it's developed over the last 5 years, and she's become sort of a figure for that, and she's very, very hated. Someone just threw coffee at her at the last public event she did, which just kind of speaks to the situation. People are like, "Oh my god, you're a fucking fascist now." It's like that. You're literally proving her point. You literally are proving her point. Like, people are so scared of hurting other people's feelings or of getting like canceled that they like take this stuff super seriously. But it's like, you can throw all the coffee at me you fucking want. Society and thinking itself and any possibility for freedom is over when you cannot disagree with people. They want to act like they actually have power and therefore should use it to deplatform people, but it's like, you don't actually have power, and you're ceding what could be power to these platforms. It's not real politics. And you're not making anyone safer. It's not making anyone safer at all. It's making things more dangerous for everybody. It's vamping up the Civil War mindset and climate, which is, it's funny. It's just like, thankfully, most people don't go for it, and Twitter's mostly just a dead place anyway. And so the people who are still kind of addicted to it at the level of their drive, they can all just jack each other off on there while everyone else does whatever we do. But with that all said, though, the inclusion of like bigger names, much less controversial ones like Finkelstein, part of the whole point of it, outside of the fact that these are great authors with important contributions, is just that, like, the idea of the university is the idea of a plurality of truth seekers coming at truth from, or doing truth processes, coming at knowledge from different perspectives, through different fields, through different methodologies and disciplines. And that's the idea. The actual institution today makes that idea unrealistic in most situations, in most universities. I mean, I'm speaking about public, state sort of universities. I imagine that a lot of these elite private ones are at least more rigorous. There's probably at least more of like a potential for a genuine intellectual milieu or movement to come out of like the side of one of those larger elite academic institutions. But like the standard fare, I mean, it's bad. It's a really bad situation. And the online left isn't much worse, actually, or better than the actual academic scene itself, where people are so allergic to disagreement and airing contradiction and actually working through things in a way that is more interested in understanding than just propagating some position. I know that, like, for the activist brain, the activist addled brain, that's like, well, what's the point of that? That's just liberalism. Yeah, well, in parliament that would be liberalism, but we're talking about academia. I know that like nowadays people can't tell the difference between parliament or the Senate or like just standard, electoral politics. They can't tell the difference between that and academia, but that's because they have no interest in actually understanding the most fundamental problems, questions, and concepts of those fields that are closest to us as humans and that are most important for understanding ourselves in the world that we live in. Most people do not see that as a lifelong undertaking that they're seriously committed to. And so it's fine. You just go to university, you drink beer, you fuck, you sometimes go to classes, sometimes you feel inspired by something, you write a really good essay or two, and you get on with your career. It's over. And so the whole point is like, no, Theory Underground's kind of doing the thing. And this volume's not just like volume one as a journal, right? Like journal volumes just kind of go on forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This isn't titled Underground Theory Volume 1. It's just Underground Theory. And then responses to specific essays in there might be their own sort of follow-up texts, conferences, special events. All kinds of stuff's going to come from that. Weird Solosky says, every bastard needed breastfeeding or formula. Every single one. Somebody loved them at least for a while. Yeah, it's true. Like, in fact, yeah, because a baby untouched, unloved, it just dies. So of course, then they go, oh, okay, well, we better touch them a little bit so they know that there's some love in the world and that there's affection for them. And it's like, yeah, but if you're just touching them enough to keep them alive, you think that's enough for them to actually turn into, human beings? It's like we have the most dehumanizing system of education, and it's not even education, it's just schooling. And the parenting is always with an eye towards that, and so the parenting becomes necessarily inhumane. And then of course the parents don't have the time energy to really develop and maintain relationships with children in the first place. And so it's like, yeah, every bastard needed a breast feeding or formula, every single one. Somebody loved them at least for a while. Yeah. And I think that increasingly, as people are sort of being parented by their phones instead of by their parents, and actual like intergenerational, three-dimensional human beings, four-dimensional human beings, like real time, not immediate on-demand time, not like I'm here when you need me and you can just kind of have me at your disposal, but like, no, like real time where you don't always get everything you want. And sometimes you just have to sit with yourself. And sometimes the person whose attention or recognition you are seeking is not in the mood for it or whatever. Like the real shit of real human dynamics that cannot be reduced to a handful of words, but involves like the most agonizing process of subjectivization imaginable. Like that whole thing is turning out these people who are jaded as fuck, hurting like hell. And a lot of them are unloved, unloving, and increasingly unlovable. Not to mention bored and boring. That's a shitty situation. That's a shitty situation. But it's one of the main explanations for the fucking virality. Not virality would be something different than virality, but it's both virile and viral. The reaction that has uh, the Twitter meltdown, if we'll call it that. I made a tweet about it today, and somebody was like, "You're still having a meltdown about this?" And of course, the person is just a troll or whatever. But I still I thought it was funny because it's like, oh my god. So I didn't realize that the idpull left on Twitter was allowed to use the word meltdown. I thought that was off limits for them. I thought they would think that's ableist, because it's like some people with autism will get offended by that and then speak on behalf of the community and say that no one should be able to say that. So I don't know, but anyway, whatever. Sad people. It's sad people. That's what it really boils down to. So Chroma says, on the Planix, their thing is capitalism required costless, non-capitalist acquisition of tropical, subtropical resources. Of course. But I mean, Rosa Luxemburg wrote a whole book about that a very long time ago. But she wrote a whole book about that. She wasn't the only person in the Second International writing about it. I mean, that's why Lenin wrote his book on imperialism. That's why Nakumbra wrote his book on neocolonialism. Right? So, but you're just saying they're keeping that kind of line of critique alive. So then Chroma also says, plus settler colonialism, also not capitalist in their view, as a mechanism for reducing unemployment. So basically, capitalism requires a periphery. It cannot be allowed to fully develop capitalism. I think that's one of the biggest sort of contradictions that Marx was unable to really think through, and it's actually a really big deal. And it actually kind of signs the end of the old left, because the only solution, once you kind of realize that, is either some sort of third way, National Liberation Front, or is like Lenin. And just neither of those two things is able to really do anything but defend itself from capitalist empire. And even then, defending yourself almost like lays you out open for, to be the actual target of, instead of just coercion, actual like outright oppression and genocide and warfare, and the CIA coming in and changing everything. So, yeah, I don't know. People just kind of keep towing the old left line. Don't tend to really sit with that one in terms of like, tearing with the contradictions and shit. And then of course, like the new left was keenly aware of this issue, but its solution was never a solution, or its solutions were never a real solution. Oh, cause havoc in the core countries. That's not a real solution. It's kind of like an accelerationist, self-congratulatory thing, and it tends to, benefit people with their little cliques, with their little affinity groups, with their little, folk, political, localist kinds of things, and really, it's just it all gets turned into just a big game of signifiers on the internet. But the real question is, what's next? And I don't know about whether the term left is even important anymore. I mean, it's important because it means something so special to so many people. People love to hate it, or they love to love it. And the people who love to love it love to gatekeep it. And that's a specific form of enjoyment that I've termed lefter than thou. So in the underground theory volume that's coming out, I argue that leftist, post-leftist, and anti-leftist forms of enjoyment are basically the exact same thing. All three use the logic of, not the logic of, but like the formula of lefter than thou to get their jouissance. And of course, at the level of drive, this undermines solidarity, and this undermines any sort of real organizing. But at the level of conscious ideals, it's contradictory, but it's not really contradictory at the level of drive, right? And so a good Zizekian ideology critique isn't going to focus on just the explicit and implicit levels of ideology. It's going to focus on the level of drive and how people are libidinally invested in getting their fix, getting their jouissance, which comes at the expense of undermining the attainment of your actual desired outcomes. So yeah, that's I have a whole piece on that, which is funny. I'm the only person who mentions the post left in the entire volume, and I mention it as a form of critique. And then the person who wrote a fucking who wrote like this, I don't know, like a relatively famous person who wrote a blog post about the whole Twitter thing recently, said, what the fuck did this? I forget exactly what this fucking person said. I don't know. Some people may not want kids because they're afraid that they will not be able to provide for them, I guess. Yeah, no, Austin, there's a lot of reasons to not want kids. I'm definitely not trying to demonize people who feel like they wouldn't be able to provide for kids and that's why they're not having kids. But what was I just saying about the volume though? I just kind of lost my train of thought, didn't I? Oh yeah, the person who was talking shit about it the most and who wrote like a blog post and all of this, and people were engaging with this person like he's a, or they, I don't really know their pronouns, but like that they're a good faith actor or whatever. This person framed the whole thing like Underground Theory is actually just a post left reader. Like they think this actual volume is just like it's like a post left thing. And then this person, it's Matt Calhoun, Xenogothic, actually said that it's a post left thing, and then they're like, which really means neo reactionary. And then they tried to say that it's all just like downstream of, derivative of, or a part of this grouping that they made up, which is sublation, platypus, spiked, compact. Like those were all like a group of people doing the same thing, and it's like the only thing that unites any of those people. I don't know anything about spiked. I literally have never read anything they've written. I don't think, but the only thing that unites all those people is that they're part of the media left. They're like DIY propagandists, and they actually care about class politics, unlike Xenogothic, unlike Matt Calhoun, because if you actually look at their blog posts they wrote about the whole Twitter thing, they actually reduce class to an identity, and so it's like that like this whole side of things just doesn't take class seriously because it's just calling it an identity. It's just an oppressed identity category. They just people are in such a hurry to make the changes that they think need to happen that they don't ever like spend a period of time like really asking themselves what are their values, and how do things work. Like people usually can kind of tell you what their values are, at least at the explicit level, but they can't like get into like what these things actually are that they keep throwing around as terms, or as jargon. And to throw around class like it's just an identity category is so stupid. But yeah, it's like it literally says trans people or working class people. It's like, why don't you, when you say working class people, you're really talking about basically everybody. And if anybody's excluded from that, why do you care about whoever's excluded from that? This is, but that's where the idpol like Twitter left is currently is at this point where it's just like, no, it's got to be intersectional, which just means identity politics on steroids, meaning if you don't fit an identity category, you can't speak about something. Like it's 2014 for these people still. Like they're so fucking removed. I don't get it. But apparently there's still you can still make a living, or at least have a lot of fun as like a sort of hobby, appealing to a consumer demographic of people who think that there's a future for that mode, for that mindset, for its assumptions. But anyway, that person is trying to frame this shit as post left, and Underground Theory has arguably maybe one post left person, like maybe, I don't even know if they would count as that. And then like trying to associate post left with neo reactionary is hilarious. Um, but anyway, no, I think that the pieces in it are really good. We've got a lot of quality writing, and it's going to be something that people think about a lot. I don't expect it to really actually sell, just because people keep saying, well, this is good for book sales. Like 200,000 people saw Daniel Tutt's tweet about all of this, and then you get all these people hating on it, and that just means that it's got more popularity than all these other book covers that have been released in the last year. And it's like, I genuinely don't think so. I genuinely don't think it's going to make more people buy it. I mean, yes, one person in the chat here has said, "Oh, I'll definitely get the book now." Maybe that's true, but yeah, I don't think it's not supposed to be a big seller, first of all. And it's not kind of written to be one either. Like, it's basically written for people who are into underground theory, who want to do things in a little bit more deliberate of a way. And if you want to actually dialogue with any of these people in it, it's an opportunity to do so. But it's not like, it's kind of not a real book in a sort of sense, because I don't know, real books are basically in the nonfiction world directed to educational institutions, or directed to the public. And obviously, when we say directed to the public, we mean, short attention spans, people who are functionally illiterate. And that's sad. That's sad that is currently what that means. And so Underground Theory tries to break from that, I think, and it tries to be neither. To be neither of those two things. But now that I lost my kitty, he's going into the corner to sleep. Now that I lost him, I'm going to shut this stream off here, because I was really just doing this to hang out with the kitty while I took a break from working. But Chroma says harm reduction is relabeled bourgeois canvassing. What does that mean? What do you mean by that, Chroma? Like, you put harm reduction into quotes, and then you said is relabeled bourgeois canvassing. When I think of like canvassing, I think of people going door to door for an election, during the primary season, trying to get Bernie, in to win the primaries or whatever. Like, that's what I think of when I think of canvassing. It's like that kind of work. But I don't think that's the context that you're using this word. So I'm just wondering. Oh, hey, you coming back? Coming back over here? Coming back over here? Oh, buddy. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Why are you like this? Why are you so cute? He just came over and blessed me. Oh, he was going to sleep in the corner. He came over and put his paws on me. Buddy, how are you this cute? It's too much for me. All right, well, Chroma, maybe you can explain what you're talking about in the comments below, but I'm going to close this thing out. So, all right, everyone, take care. Oh, now he's on me. I said I was going to close the stream out because you went over there. Now you're on me again? Buddy. Everyone's going to ask me, by the way, what's his name? And I'm experimenting with different names right now. Um, we've tried out Ryan Gosling. We've tried out Ken. We've tried out Dasein. We've tried out Kenny. So, it's a work in process. My niece wants me to name him Firepaw. You're right, Thomas. It's way too cute. Solopsky says, bye, Austin. Solopsky says, bougie kids do activism. Is the goal to make bad kids do it, or is the goal to make it irrelevant? Um, yeah, I think the goal would probably be to make it irrelevant. It's a great question. But you say, is the goal to make bad kids do it? Is really weird. Like, you framed it like there's basically bougie kids versus bad kids. I think that the bougie kids are the bad kids in most cases. And by bad, I just mean ineffective, counterproductive, self-congratulatory dead ends. That is really just like a sort of rite of passage or rumspringa on the way into the PMC. Like, it's kind of just like, they're just getting their stripes before they go into the institutions. And so, insofar as anything good gets monopolized by such people, it is bad. You could say the most good, true things, but as long as it's functionally serving that set of purposes, then it's fucking bullshit, right? And so, insofar as it's based in, villainizing, demonizing, and fucking with the working class while reifying its function and role in society, um, it's evil. It's evil because it has no interest in the liberation of time, energy for everybody. It's just here to tell people that they basically get what they get, and that they can only get something a little bit nicer if the right people are voted for or subscribed to, or they maybe you get a little bit of upward mobility, and you might even deserve it so long as you say X, Y, or Z things, or get on board with like the new fucking axe that they're grinding. And usually these axes that they're grinding are like some new goalposts that they've moved as to like what people are supposed to say they believe. And it's increasingly absurd to the point of being utterly ridiculous. And of course, they're, oh, you're transphobic because you don't believe in pure affirmation. Wow, we went from bathrooms to sports to this now. Like, we're at this level now where it's like, yeah, y'all, you fucking, that whole tendency in activism had so much support until they started getting to like this new level of like, no, if you're not into pure affirmation, then you're bad. You're a fascist. And it's like, okay, we're talking about the rise of an industry that is putting the medicalization of ego psychology before theory or talk therapy, and it's using children as the sort of vehicle to drive a wedge between people. So it's like, it's really disgusting, and there's really nothing more to it. It's these people are so used to thinking that they're on the right side of history that it's like they can't realize when they've lost it. And the rest of all time will look back at them as like a bunch of goofballs who fucked up. But it's more indicative of a bigger thing that's coming. The bigger thing that's coming are just the increasing divides between people who want to try to, in some way, maintain a semblance of however they conceive human nature or whatever, and then people who understand human nature as modifying oneself, of constantly, um, hey buddy, are you biting my ear now? Yeah, but anyway, it's the thing that I've been writing about. I haven't published anything on this, but I'll just kind of tell you all it's the war between the naturals and the cyborgs. I've been talking about this for a couple of years now. The war between the naturals and the cyborgs is the war of the future. It is the next big thing, and it's the main way that um, people in power will maintain power is by keeping us focused on that division, and that wedge will be the one that's used. And then there will be old, sort of political categories and divisions sort of incorporated into this. But for the most part, yeah, there's a handful of people who aren't worried about the end of the world because they'll get off planet, or at least their kids will. And everyone else is going to be left in Mad Max world. And most of the people in Mad Max world will be the survivors after the civil wars and world wars between the naturals and cyborgs. That's how it's going to go. Dude, Mango would be a really cute name. Okay, this whole like chewing on my earlobe thing is really ticklish. Ah! Mango. Do you like that name? Mango? You just like my earlobe. Milk will not come out of it no matter how much you suck on it. Sorry. Sorry, bud. It ain't gonna happen. Mongo cat. Solosky says framed like bad kids would also be ineffective. Well, I think that moralizing it as good kids, bad kids is already the problem. There's nothing really wrong with being bougie. The point is that they're just like a person who's, and I assume you're just using that word to mean middle class or upper class or something. And that a bougie person's just kind of out of touch from like the real is all. And by out of touch, I just mean that they just have like this privileged safety buffer that kind of means that they're out of touch, which is good. That's actually kind of a condition of freedom, of being able to really think in the first place. A lot of people just aren't very responsible with that freedom or responsible with that privilege. Oh, he is like really interested in the bird sounds out here. Yep, he's a parrot. He's a shoulder cat. Do you want to go down, bud? Uh-oh, no. We can't. Okay, actually, you know what? Yeah, you can go down. I'll hang out on stream for another 5 minutes here and let him wander around on the ground. I just kind of have to keep an eye on him. It's good to introduce him to the outdoors in small doses like this because he's going to be an inside outside cat. He just won't be going far from me when we're outside. He's going to get to see the Oregon coast here pretty soon. So excited about that. Okay, but what is Solitsky? What do you mean by bad kids? What do you? I don't understand. I thought I did, but I'm starting to realize I must have misunderstood you. Now I don't know what we're talking about. What is a bad kid to you, and what's the kind of context to this? Are you just do you kind of just imagine that there's like two kinds of people? It's bougie kids who are like liberal, bougie, progressive, pseudo radical kids, versus what like are you just thinking of like dirtbags when you say bad? You're saying like edgelords? Are you saying like kids who use slurs and or like Holocaust skeptics or some is that what you is that what you have in mind? Is this the kind of basic internet politics divide that you're invoking? Because I don't think that either of those groupings is a real political force or has any future or potential. You know what I mean? But that's if that's what you mean. I'm not sure what kind of frame you're invoking here. Oh my god! Look at this. Can I turn the camera around? Yes. Oh, he's hiding. He's underneath the tarp. Most of the if what you're talking if the framework I just invoked was correct, then a lot of those people you're loosely calling bad are also just bougie, out of touch people. So I don't really see much of a difference here. There's people who get enjoyment from saying the things they're supposed to say, but saying it a little bit rudely. And then there's people who get enjoyment from saying the things that they're not supposed to say. But these are just people masturbating on social media as opposed to masturbating on porn sites. That's all they're doing. Okay, Solosky says, no divide, kids who really need it but have no concept of anything discussed here and elsewhere other than the horror stories pod people swap. The horror stories that people swap? I don't know now. I'm not sure what this all means. Thomas says, speaking of dirtbag leftists, I can't believe you try to clout Shark Vosh by getting a new kitten on stream the day after he does. Ha ha ha. I didn't know that. But I know for a fact that my cat's cuter. And I'd debate him over it, except that Vosh is scared to debate me. So I don't know if that's true or if that's fair, but it's kind of just what I've defaulted to because he brought a bunch of nobodies on his stream to make them look stupid because they weren't going to vote for Biden. And I wanted to debate him for shaming disenfranchised people after calling himself a populist. And he said he wouldn't debate me on that until after the election. So he put me off like 5 months, which kind of like obviously it's irrelevant after that point. But now here he is basically doing the same fucking bullshit again. I just haven't tried because I don't really think. Well, I would if you wanted to, but yeah. It's there's just no real debate there. He was being an idiot and he knows that I would make him look like one, and so that's why he doesn't want to bring me on, because he won't bring people on who stick up for disenfranchised people who are obviously and rightfully skeptical of the two-party system and who are also sick and fucking tired of being gaslit by PMC douchebags who say that you're a fucking reactionary if you won't vote for someone like Biden, which is all kind of separate from actually voting for someone. Like that's all separate from actually voting for someone. And that's why he would lose that debate, is because he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Like, but little tiny points of distinction or clarification can go a long way. And you know, for someone who's doing what he's doing, he wouldn't be as successful at it if he actually had those kinds of conversations. So, I used to think he was bringing something interesting to the table, but instead he's a dead end for a lot of people. They're not going to get better. He's not turning on people's brains. He's not getting people to seriously want to understand things for themselves. He's just fucking the representative in chief of dunking on people and pausing things every 2 seconds to make some quip. Uh, Dude, that's like that's the worst part of it. It's like everybody's ADHD now, and and then there's like two kinds of people. There's the people who harness and counter those tendencies in strategic ways with these new media forms, so as to salvage their integrity as humans and actually develop literacy and comprehension abilities. And then there's people who just give into it and feed off of it or in his case profit off of it. But yeah, if you just watch a video and then you pause every like second to 2 seconds to like make some quip about just dunking on it as you go, but you don't actually just sit with it and think it through and reflect on it and then go back over it again and give it a real response, you're not making your audience better. You're making your audience really bad, actually. So anyway, Solosky says, I mean, all lumpen really, young and old. Who cares what Vosh is? And that's kind of my point. Nobody in Helltown, Novosh or Hassan or Catrone. Oh, I get it. So Solosky's kind of saying, what, nobody in Helltown? So you're just saying like people who really struggle don't know who people like this even is, so who cares? Who gives a fuck? My whole life was Helltown. I know who they are. I have to deal with them. All the people I know fucking deal with them. What, there's some people who, what, you mean the overwhelming masses of people like don't tune into and or avoid any kind of alternative political discourse online, and therefore we shouldn't care about it or we shouldn't talk about it, or we shouldn't like critique the people who are the most popular sort of representatives, spokespeople, and or gatekeepers of that whole scene, the sort of like reference points that form the constellation of the scene we shouldn't even talk about just because miserable oppressed people don't know about it. This is like the people in hell. People are suffering, so we shouldn't even read books. People are suffering. Why are we talking about a celebrity? It's just like, okay, I didn't realize that I'm working at a soup kitchen right now. Hold on, let me go back to just spoon feeding you all some soup here. Thomas said, that is true. Oh, about the pausing something every 2 seconds to comment on it. Yeah, that stuff. It just makes me worse when I watch it. I know it makes me worse. And so then I just have to go read books or something, you know? Solosky says, and I do appreciate the efforts of Bouge kids. I simply put, I don't appreciate most of the efforts by most online activism. But you know what? It's not for me. In fact, in most cases, it's directed against me. And so, whatever. But insofar as there are people doing real work, yeah, I appreciate them. I just wouldn't call them bouge, like in this sort of sweeping way. Like, like, I don't know. Like, I know that you're probably using that term loosely, though. So never mind. I'm being pedantic. You use the term the way you want to use it, but most people just use that term now to mean like, oh, they're not suffering in terms of, they're not immediately subjected to economic hardship and therefore they're bouge. But I don't know. Yeah, I grew up poor, and so like calling people, and I'm still poor as fuck. I'm more poor now than I was in my early 20s because I've chosen to work less, but I've always had to work, and sometimes finding work was hard. And my point is just that, yeah, calling people bougie did kind of have like a different meaning for me, I think, than it does for some people who use the term just to describe anything that's nice. But because people try to equate PMC with bourgeois, they try to act like it means the exact same thing. Now I get overly pedantic about it because they do mean different things. Like, one is actually speaking to a mindset, mode, and function in the reproduction of capitalism, PMC, as opposed to the other, which is just kind of like either describing the owners of the means of production, or it's describing the middle class. And used to just describe the middle class, it's a fucking terrible signifier. And I don't think that's what you were even meaning, but maybe it is. But that's why people got to clarify terms, especially with that word, bouge. Gotta keep my eye on this little guy. He ran away over there, got pretty far, but now he's coming back. So at least he's coming back. Oh, just kidding. He's not coming back. He's going over there. Chroma says Catrone's cool though. Solosky says, I know them. I know hell. They should continue their work. Okay. Well, cool. Catrone, though? So you know hell, and therefore, because you know hell, you think Catrone's useless? I think there's stuff to be learned from that guy. I think that he's an important figure or sort of counterpoint in the discourse. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Skipping around with your new collar? Skipping around with your little bell on your collar? There's like birds out there. And he's all about it. He keeps looking. It's like the most exciting thing ever for him. Oh, he is going spazzy. Yeah. You little bundle of joy. You little bundle of joy. Oh, oh, fight the foot. Oh my God, it's too cute. It's too cute. Oh, all right. So let's look at these recent comments. I'm gonna stand in the shade while I do it so I can see the screen. I already said what I would debate Vosh about. I already said what I tried to debate him about. Just go back and play it over. Solosky says, but they need to know, or at least maybe an effort to reach out should be made. Bouge is a loose term. Hashtag activism is gatekeeping and scoldy. Catrone is great, says Solosky. Bouge is me being lazy. Okay, Solosky. Fair enough. There's nothing wrong with speaking loosely. I'm like starting to learn that I just need to always clarify when I am speaking loosely, unless I just want a bunch of people to always pick apart everything I'm saying. It's like, yeah, pick apart what I'm saying when I'm being specific and technical. It helps me and it will help you get better too. But when people pick you apart while you're speaking loosely, it's like, come on. Thomas says, I've been on this side of YouTube since like 2008 and have never heard of ktten until now. Thomas, what are you talking about? I've done 3 interviews with ktten. Doug Lane's had like probably 10 conversations with ktten. Kitron's been organizing for Platypus Society ever since the beginning of Occupy. He's a big deal. You should know this. If you've been around since 2018, you should know this. Because that's like what, 5 years now? But what do you mean by this side of the internet? You mean Vosh? See, that's the thing, is like Vosh isn't going to bring someone like ktten on. Here's the thing, though. Okay, here we go. Thomas, if you're in his community, let Vosh know. I want to host a conversation / debate between Vosh and Chris Kitten. Kitten thinks that the millennial left is dead. He obviously thinks that the Zoomer left is no better. And he just put out a book on that. So, yeah, Vosh is a sort of representative of the millennials and Zoomers on this side of the internet. It makes sense to have Kitten and Vosh have a serious conversation. And it would have to be mediated. It would not just be fucking going on to a platform where like 10,000 people are all sitting there agreeing with Vosh most of the time, with that like comments flying by while he does his little rhetorical things that he does in his little yeah, no, it needs to be properly mediated. There needs to be an actual I was gonna say MC. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for, people? Referee. There needs to be a real referee for that conversation. That'd be really great. To me, it would be like a meeting between old and new left, which, I mean, look, I don't think that there's a future in either the old or the new left, but that the future is in part to be salvaged from important things that were monopolized by both old and new, right? So, look, Vosh, you might not have wanted to debate me when it actually mattered, in my opinion, but I want you to debate Chris Kitten, and I want to be the one who makes it happen or like gets to officiate it, because I've got 12 years of discussion and debate facilitation and a genuine interest in the topic. So I think that it should be me. So there you go. It's out there. I put it out into the world. If I get back from my little wedding / honeymoon vacation for the next month here and have an email at theoryplebe@gmail.com from Vosh or some Twitter DMs about how he's actually down for that, then we'll make a whole event around it. There's a few other like contradictions between important figures that I would like to facilitate, like Chris Kitten and Todd McGowan and Brian Becker, Daniel Tutt and Nina Power, Slavoj Žižek, Nick Land. I want to see those things happen, and I just don't really trust the other kinds of people who are on the internet doing interviews right now or doing debates. I don't really trust the current. I trust myself to be able to do this. I don't know that anyone else is going to be able to pull it off without it becoming just a shit show. It would probably be a shit show on most channels. And so, yeah, I kind of really want to do like some kind of stream event where some of those contradictions get aired, get to actually play out. That'd be fucking cool. Yeah, you're right, Thomas. Moderator. Exactly. Yeah, Tut McGowan. That would be pretty cool. Oh, you just mean in general that you like them. Okay. I get it, Solowski. All right, folks. Now this has been too long. I gotta bounce. The kitty actually came back inside with me and didn't run away. So I'll consider this a great success. Bye, everybody. How do I turn this off? Bye.